This is Sportscentre.
Hi, Marissa Roberto. This is Digital Sportscentre presented by Montana's Barbecue and Bar. Let's shout out Montana's to start the show here. I had an amazing meal at Montana's in Saskatoon. Mom wanted to go there for her birthday. Here's a photo with the antlers as proof. We'll start on the ice because the Leafs are coming off a huge win at home over the Flyers, as they tied their season high in goals with 7 in the blowout victory. This offensive explosion came primarily from the second line, as stars William Nylander and John Tortorella each scored twice and combined for 8 points. And this production is not a one-off, as the entire core four has been on fire over the last 5 games, which has helped Toronto go 4-1 in that span. While most of the team has been hot, the Leafs are still waiting for 2 of their players to turn things around: Morgan Rielly and Scott Laughton. While those 2 have not been awful by any means, their production has been underwhelming. Rielly isn't scoring like he used to, and there's been a huge dip in points from a season ago. And ever since Laughton got traded at the deadline, he hasn't even registered a point in the Maple Leaf uniform. But thankfully for the Leafs, their upcoming stretch of games seems like the perfect opportunity to get those 2 back on track. Starting tonight, Toronto is set to play 3 games in California, a yearly trip that Eastern Conference teams typically dread, because there's a lot of travel and often ends in defeat for the visitors. This year is a great example, as Eastern Conference teams are struggling in California, even though 2 of the 3 California teams are out of the playoff picture. But it's an entirely different story for Toronto, as last year they were undefeated on their California trip, thanks in part to a big stretch by Morgan Rielly, who put up 3 points in those games. And it's a similar story for Scott Laughton, as in Philly's California trip earlier this season, he also added 3 points as the Flyers won 2 of 3 of those games. So if things play out in California like they have in the past, this might be the perfect recipe to get Rielly and Laughton back on track. To baseball, and opening day is here already. Well, sort of. Because we already had opening day from Japan last week, but I guess we're not counting that. Like, no one's really been counting that, actually. No, by the time you're watching this, the Jays have already started their season against the Orioles. But it's still as good a time as any to look at what the expectations are for the Jays this year. Let's start with the wins, as FanDuel has their over-under set at 79.5. And yeah, that sounds about right. But 80 wins is not a playoff team, and the FanDuel odds reflect that as well. It's so bad for the Jays, though, that they're actually projected to finish last in the AL East, with the Yankees the favorites at plus 150. But the thing is, when the expectations are all the way on the ground, Jays fans could be delighted all season, no? Now here come the real long shots. They're 25-1 to win the American League and 65-1 to win the World Series. The shadow that will loom large this season, though, is that of Vladdy Guerrero Jr. And if he'll re-sign with the Jays, or if they trade him, or if he hits free agency, or, whatever. But we did get some news on that front this morning. According to ESPN's Buster Olney, the Blue Jays made another offer to Vlad, but the gap still remains between both sides. But again, because the expectation is so low for the Jays' performance this year, Vladdy could really impress and show off his skills, especially if he wants to get paid, no? My prediction is he won't come back to the Blue Jays, only because he wants Soto money, okay? He wants Soto money. He better start acting like Soto. Well, on FanDuel, the Jays are actually the favorite for Vlad's next team, but it's hard to project where that goes on opening day, as we need to see exactly what this team will look like before having an informed opinion. That's the thing, is that we don't actually know how things shake up. Baseball is a very long season with so many games where anything could happen, so be optimistic, Jays fans. In other hockey news, the Philadelphia Flyers made a coaching change this morning, as the team announced they've relieved John Tortorella of his coaching duties, which makes me sad because you know how much I love John Tortorella. He's my boy. The news comes after a fiery press conference from John Tortorella on Tuesday.
Well, when you're in this type of situation and you're losing all the time and there's nothing at the end of the tunnel for you, there's certainly going to be some frustration, but this falls on me. I'm not really interested in learning how to coach this type of season where we're at right now, but I have to do a better job. So this falls on me, getting the team prepared to play the proper way until we get to the end.
It's like, this is why he's my boy. Like, what are we going to do without a John Tortorella postgame? General Manager Danny Briere spoke on the matter, stating that it was a difficult decision, but ultimately the best way for the Flyers to move forward. John Tortorella's time in Philadelphia comes to an end on the verge of the team's 5th straight year missing the playoffs. Associate coach Brad Shaw will replace him on an interim basis. This begs the question, though, will we see Torts coaching in the NHL again? While he does have an impressive resume, he has not led a team to the playoffs since 2020, and he's won just 40% of his games in that span. So will another team give Torts a shot? Well, they friggin' better, because I need to be entertained, don't you? Time now for Upset Moments presented by Under Armour. I'm we've told you for the last week now. On both the men's and women's side, it's been a tourney filled with chalk, as top seeds are absolutely crushing it in the brackets. So with the Sweet 16 starting tonight, can we please get an upset? The problem is both Duke and Florida look unbeatable. Fortunately for those hoping for that upset, beating Duke isn't anything new for Arizona's Caleb Love, who has a 5-4 career record versus Duke, including arguably the biggest win over Duke in UNC's history, when he went off for 28 in the Final Four, ending Coach K's career with a loss. So now that he's transferred to Arizona, can he do the same tonight? Because what is a Sweet 16 without a spicy upset? You can watch all the Sweet 16 action tonight on TSN. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Let's talk more basketball here with Raps, but through the eyes of March Madness. Because with last night's win over the Nets, it seems like the Raptors are locked into that 7th seed. And it really seems like a stretch they could get any lower in terms of lottery balls. They've got about a 7.5% chance to land the first overall pick if they finish the season where they are now, which also gives them a 31.9% chance to land a pick in the top 4. But that math doesn't really work in their favor, because there's a 34.1% chance they end up at pick 8. So with the Raps possibly picking anywhere from 1 to 10, tonight's the perfect night to do some scouting and watch Duke Arizona. Because Duke has 3 players in the top 10 of Jonathan Givony's top prospects. Cooper Flagg, Common Malawach, and Con Knipple should all go in the top 10, and they all do different things. Let's start with Flagg, who everyone knows is the prize of this year's draft. He does it all, and so far through 2 games of the tourney, he's lived up to all the hype. Wherever he goes, he should be able to turn a franchise around. Now for the more realistic option. Malawach is ranked number 8, and the 7'2" center is a defensive force, but has also shown he can knock down a 3 and is a great rim runner. And after him, it's Knipple, one of the better shooters in the draft. The 6'7" wing hit the 3 at a 39.3% clip all season. So keep an eye out for all 3 tonight against Arizona, a game you can watch, of course, on TSN. And just a reminder that Bell and the Raptors are celebrating and supporting organizations that help connect new Canadians through basketball with the Bell Inbound Assist. 3 organizations received a $30,000 grant, and from March 17th to April 13th, fans can vote on which organization will get an additional $25,000. Voting fans will also have a chance to win Raptors tickets and jerseys. Vote at bellinboundassist.ca. What an absolutely electric program. Money plus more money. Why not vote? That's it for today. We'll see you back in 3 Nova Pacific. Have a good one.